3 o'clock in the morning, the pitch-black waters off Somalia are suddenly torn apart by the wild shrieking of General Quarters alarm sirens. On the radar screen of the destroyer USS Arleigh Burke, hundreds of red dots appear densely packed, moving rapidly like a swarm of bees. It is not a stray fishing boat, but 240 targets charging straight at the U.S. Navy formation at maximum speed. This is no longer a routine robbery, but a massive suicide attack that has been meticulously planned to overwhelm the defenses. 40 high-speed skiffs tear through the water from all directions, carrying madmen armed with RPG anti-tank guns ready to open fire. The U.S. fleet commander freezes for a moment, realizing they have fallen into a deadly encirclement unprecedented in modern naval history. The first flashes of fire spark in the night, signaling a long, bloody night amidst the vast and extremely cold ocean. A chilling question arises. Can the cutting-edge technology of the United States withstand the recklessness and savagery of this hungry wolf pack? When fire ants decide to attack a war elephant, will the sea be stained with the blood of the crazy or the steel of the arrogant? Pitch-black darkness blankets the Gulf of Aden, where two giant steel monsters of the U.S. Navy cut through waves at 15 knots. Their secret mission is to escort an oil tanker codenamed Ghost, carrying top-secret military equipment toward the Mediterranean Sea. But they are unaware that hidden behind those cold, white-capped waves, a deadly trap has been set hours in advance. Billion-dollar state-of-the-art ANSPY-1D radar systems scan continuously, yet they ignore tiny flickering signals on the water surface. The U.S. fleet's adversary is not armored warships, but primitive wooden skiffs, a naturally stealthy weapon that is extremely dangerous. From 5 nautical miles away, 4 motherships disguised as civilian fishing boats begin releasing the bloodiest wolves of this sea into the water. 40 high-speed skiffs are launched in silence, each carrying 6 pirates with eyes bloodshot from chewing stimulant cot leaves. They do not attack in a line, but spread out in a 360-degree fan formation, aiming straight for the flank of the destroyer USS Michael Murphy. Suddenly, the infrared observation screen on the U.S. bridge flashes with a series of small heat spots, moving at a terrifying speed of 40 knots. The tactical officer screams into the radio, but before his finger can hit the alarm button, the first explosion tears through the quiet night. An RPG-7 anti-tank round whistles through the air, leaving a white smoke trail and slamming straight into the steel hull above the U.S. ship's starboard side. The sound of tearing metal mixes with the deafening explosion, shaking the entire ship violently as if it had just hit a giant iceberg. Immediately, dozens of other streaks of fire from all directions fly incessantly into the superstructure, turning the deck into a chaotic sea of fire. The swarm attack tactic has maximized its effect by overloading the target processing capability of the crew. Large naval guns become useless at such close range, as they cannot lower their barrels enough to fire at those tiny skiffs. On the bridge, the captain of the USS Michael Murphy faces a life-and-death decision in a split second. Return fire or wait for target confirmation. The rigid rules of engagement of the U.S. Navy become an invisible noose, binding the hands and feet of the soldiers under attack. They hesitate for fear of accidentally shooting fishermen, but that hesitation gives the pirates the chance to close in to a range of just 500 meters. The sound of AK-47 machine guns begins to roar, bullets plowing up the deck, embedding in radars, and destroying fragile antenna communication equipment. Sentries on deck are forced to lie flat to avoid the rain of bullets, while the automatic fire suppression system begins spraying water torrentially. Strategic analysis shows that these 240 pirates are not acting spontaneously. They are executing a scenario that has been thoroughly trained. They know the radar's blind spots. They know the firing angle limits of naval guns. And most importantly, they are not afraid of death. Under the influence of meth and promises of huge bounties, the attackers rush at the U.S. warship like frenzied moths. The second destroyer, USS Arleigh Burke, only now manages to maneuver, trying to create a steel shield to protect the ghost tanker behind it. But the number of enemies is too great. The radar screen is now glowing red like blood, signaling a comprehensive siege with no gaps left. An observer officer screams as he sees a skiff loaded with explosives rushing straight at the stern where the propellers are located. If the propellers are destroyed, the billion-dollar ship will become an immobile block of iron, a tasty prey waiting to be butchered in the ocean. The air in the control room is thick with the smell of gunpowder and extreme tension, sweat soaking the backs of the young soldiers' shirts. The captain slams his hand on the console, brushing aside all cumbersome rules and ordering the activation of brief fire status. Authorize use of all firepower. I repeat, destroy anything moving closer to the ship within a 1-mile radius. This order is like unchaining a sleeping monster, marking the end of patience and the beginning of rage. But is this reaction too late when the wolf pack has already sunk its teeth deep into the giant prey's throat? The pirates, with the arrogance of those gaining the upper hand, begin hooking rope ladders and preparing for a hand-to-hand raid. They believe Americans are weak in close combat, but they have forgotten that on this ship there is another terrifying force. A platoon of Marines is silently loading ammunition into M4 rifles, their eyes cold as ice, waiting for the moment the door bursts open. The battle, unequal in numbers but disparate in technological class, officially enters its bloodiest phase. Immediately after the free fire order is issued, the giant steel monster of the U.S. Navy officially awakens from its slumber. The Phalanx CIWS close-in defense system begins spinning its barrels, emitting a characteristic sound like a giant fabric-tearing chainsaw. With a firing rate of 4,500 rounds per minute, the Phalanx spewed a torrent of glowing red tungsten projectiles, sweeping across the deadly Black Sea. The three leading high-speed skiffs are instantly sliced in half, exploding into thousands of wooden splinters and bodies flying into the air. Not only the Phalanx, but the 25mm Bushmaster autocannons on both sides of the ship also simultaneously joined the symphony of death. The 25mm high-explosive rounds slam straight into the pirate engines, turning them into living torches burning bright in the Gulf of Aden night. However, the enemy are no amateurs. They quickly scatter to avoid concentrated fire and begin launching unmanned aerial vehicles. The AN/SLQ-32 early warning radar screams continuously as it detects dozens of suicide drone signals diving from an altitude of 500 meters. This is a dangerous strategic turning point, showing that these 240 pirates are equipped with extremely modern asymmetric warfare technology. One drone slips through the anti-aircraft fire net, slamming into the main funnel of the USS Michael Murphy, causing a massive concussion explosion. Black smoke billows up. The ventilation system is severely damaged, causing the temperature in the engine room to skyrocket to a dangerous red alert level. In the electronic warfare room, U.S. intelligence specialists are stunned as they decode the control signals of this attacking drone swarm. The signal does not originate from the pirate mothership, but is relayed from a secret radar station located deep within the Somali mainland. The data encryption bears the distinct mark of professional mercenary forces, suggesting the intervention of a powerful third-party nation. It seems someone wants to use pirates as proxies to test the U.S. fleet's defensive capabilities against swarm attack tactics. Not to be outdone, the helicopter hangar at the stern opens, and the MH-60R Seahawk roars into the air, carrying guided Hellfire missiles. From above, the helicopter's FLIR infrared sensor system turns night into day, exposing the position of every single tiny skiff. The U.S. pilot coldly locks onto the target and presses the launch button, sending $100,000 missiles into the tiny targets. Giant columns of water stand tall after each explosion, the pressure from the Hellfire missiles tearing apart anything within the kill radius. But the enemy numbers are too great. A group of suicide skiffs has closed in on the port side, hidden from the range of the main naval guns. They throw grappling hooks and rope ladders onto the hull. Pirates wielding AKs and daggers begin climbing up like apes. This is the moment the U.S. Marines prove their worth, deploying right on the deck with 12.7mm heavy machine guns. Infantry gunfire cracks deafeningly. Pirates just popping their heads over the railing are knocked back into the sea by the intense firepower. Blood stains the slippery deck red, shell casings falling like rain, creating a scene of chaos and brutality never seen before. A desperate pirate throws a grenade onto the deck, but a U.S. soldier quickly kicks it back into the water before it explodes. Tension escalates to the extreme when radar detects two more large unidentified ships moving from the north at intercept speed. Those are not pirate ships, but unnumbered missile frigates, silently entering the battlefield like deadly observers. The U.S. captain realizes they are not just fighting pirates, but falling into a sophisticated and dangerous geopolitical trap. He orders a highest-level distress signal sent to the 5th Fleet Command stationed in nearby Bahrain. Mayday! Mayday! We are under attack by a combined force, requesting immediate air support. Situation critical. Answering the distress call is the roar of two FA-18 Super Hornet jet engines tearing through the wind from the offshore aircraft carrier. The arrival of tactical air power marks the battle's shift from passive defense to comprehensive destructive offense. The fighter pilots look down at the burning sea, hands ready on the trigger for GBU-12 laser-guided bombs. The cat-and-mouse game is over. Now is the time for the American Eagle to swoop down and crush the rats plaguing the ground below. But will this intervention be timely enough to save the fiercely burning ship and the sailors exhausted from continuous fighting? And will those two mysterious, strange ships intervene when they see the balance of power tipping toward the U.S. Navy? The answer lies in the next fateful moments, as the Gulf of Aden sky prepares to be shaken by the night's biggest explosions. The situation at sea is like a pressure cooker about to explode as the remaining pirates decide to play their final all-in hand. Realizing the boarding failed, the pirate leader screams into the radio, ordering all remaining skiffs to converge on a single point. Tactics shift suddenly from scattered siege to a concentrated drill tip, aiming straight at the USS Michael Murphy's magazine to detonate it. This is a life-or-death moment. If dozens of explosive-laden skiffs ram one spot, the U.S. ship's Kevlar armor will be torn apart. On the USS Arleigh Burke Bridge, the captain sees the tactical screen, realizes this crazy intent, and decides to unleash the Thunderstrike. Request 127mm naval gun load HEMOF rounds. Set time fuses for airburst activation. Lock coordinates on the crowd ahead. Airburst fragmentation rounds are the most terrible nightmare for infantry or unarmored vehicles in open terrain. The Mark 45 Mod 4 main gun roars, the barrel recoiling violently, spewing a 32-kilogram shell with extreme muzzle velocity. The shell does not hit the water but explodes right above the pirate skiff formation at 15 meters, creating a deadly rain of steel shards. Thousands of sharp fragments tear through the air at supersonic speed, piercing the fragile wood and the bodies of the frenzied attackers. The sea surface boils like a frying pan. Blood and wreckage mix together, creating a horrific scene that makes anyone shudder. At the same time, high in the sky, 10,000 feet above, two Ghost FA-18 Super Hornet aircraft began to dive, locking onto the distant motherships. The squadron leader coldly announces over the radio, "Target locked, Fox 1. Sending greetings from the United States of America." 4 GBU-12 Paveway 2 smart bombs leave the pylons, gliding through the air following an invisible laser beam projected from the aircraft's nose. The motherships, the final refuge and command center of the pirates, are completely devoid of missile interception systems. 4 dull explosions ring out almost simultaneously. Giant columns of fire rise hundreds of meters high, tearing through the ocean's pitch-black night. The blast pressure is so great that shockwaves travel across the water, tossing the remaining small skiffs dozens of meters away. On the U.S. ship's observation screen, the red dots representing the enemy blink out one by one, leaving only floating piles of ash. The two mysterious ships to the north, upon witnessing this destructive power, immediately turn off their radar and retreat into international waters. They understand that if they linger for even one more minute, their fate will be the same as those burning wooden ships. Gunfire on the USS Michael Murphy gradually falls silent, giving way to the engine's hum and waves lapping against the bullet-riddled hull. The damage control team quickly reports, minor hull breach on the flank, main radar damaged, 3 sailors injured, no fatalities. A price too cheap for an asymmetrical battle, where the enemy mobilized up to 240 suicide gunmen with heavy weapons. On the other side of the battle line, the loss is absolute. 4 motherships sunk, 35 high-speed skiffs destroyed, over 200 pirates eliminated. The rare survivors clinging to debris raise their hands in desperate surrender as U.S. helicopter searchlights shine on their faces. The battlefield situation changed completely within 45 minutes, shifting from sudden passivity to absolute firepower dominance. Strategic analysts believe this is not just a military victory, but a powerful political deterrent sent globally. The U.S. has proven that even when besieged by human wave tactics, technology and combat discipline remain the deciding factors. However, this battle also exposes a fatal flaw. Billion-dollar ships can still be vulnerable to cheap weapons. Using a $200,000 missile to destroy a $5,000 skiff is an economic problem that gives the Pentagon a headache. But in moments of life and death, the value of the crew's lives and national honor cannot be measured in money. The Fifth Fleet sends a victory notification to Washington, while the FA-18 seconds perform a victory lap in the smoke-filled sky. The Red Sea tonight has literally turned red, a bloody warning to anyone who dares challenge U.S. naval power. Dawn is slowly breaking on the horizon, illuminating the drifting debris, ending a long night of horror but full of glory. The first light of a new day dimly appears on the horizon, shining down on the Gulf of Aden, now a giant floating graveyard. No more gunfire, no more roaring jet engines, only a chilling silence blankets the tattered debris drifting aimlessly. The 2 U.S. Navy destroyers stand tall, gliding through the ashes, their hulls bullet-riddled and smoke-stained like warriors fresh from hell. RHIB rubber boats are lowered into the water, not to fight, but to fish out survivors shivering from cold and extreme terror. On-site interrogation reveals a shocking truth. These 240 pirates were merely pawns on the chessboard of a dangerous shadow power. Tonight's battle leaves a bloody lesson for the global military community. Asymmetric warfare is no longer just theory, but a tangible threat. Overwhelming numbers can challenge technological quality, but when the giant is truly angered, the price for the provoker is total annihilation. Despite the victory, the Pentagon will struggle with the economic puzzle as millions of dollars in weapons were spent to counter a fleet of wooden skiffs. This event is also a wake-up call showing how fragile peace on the oceans is. Just one small spark is enough to incinerate everything. Washington has sent a silent but steely message. Anyone daring to touch core U.S. interests at sea will face wrath from the sky. The masterminds in the shadows may have escaped today, but with the global intelligence network, the real hunt is only just beginning. Do you think human wave tactics can defeat modern warships in the future? Leave a comment and subscribe to Military US for the next scenarios.